when cops in general, I know this is a bit broad, when they decide to be brave. Because Pixelated Pupil did write, cops are pretty tough when they're protecting a road and not a schoolroom full of children, I guess. Of course, that's in connection to what happened in Uvalde, Texas with those children that were mass murdered and police chose to listen and watch instead. What are your thoughts, Jackson?
Well, police are deployed in situations like this to, enforce order. And the only way that that can be done is through force. The only way that that can be done is by pushing people around, shoving people around, and maintaining your authority by showing that your guns are bigger. So when we see police officers do things like this, they're doing exactly what they were sent there to do. And it's just as simple as that.
It's just, it's the MO. And again, like I said, some protesters go out expecting this and actually get involved with it as well because they know what the cops are gonna do. A lot of times I don't get that approach, but this is the thing, they're gonna oblige. And their point is, again, people have mentioned this before. They're looking to protect property and roads and businesses much more than human beings. Human beings are collateral damage. In fact, it probably gets them jazzed up to get out there and they put on their riot gear and go, let's go crack some skulls. It's literally one of the things that people have said, and they can't wait to do this type of stuff. So, I mean, this is the world we live in now, and especially based off of a decision like this. They're like, we got some righteous anger and we can come after them for protesting their rights. We have a couple minutes left, and I skipped a lot of y'all's comments. I do want to go to a few more. You can pause some few in there too, Emilio, if you're seeing things. But over on Twitch, I love seeing what you guys say on Twitch. Apollo Racer says, talking about the top of the hour, when we talked about that, that state rep out in Utah, talking about how women need to regulate their intake of semen. Anyway, Apollo Racer said, she spoke like it was on the woman, it was the woman's fault if a guy ejaculated inside of her. We'll change the words. Also on Twitch, Metal Kitty Mom says, Jackson squared. Absolutely, thank you guys. They call me Deuce, says, hope you get to feeling better soon, JR. Thank you to everyone at the network, behind and in front of the scenes. You're all amazing, and the world needs you to keep doing what you're doing. It's tiring, Deuce, but we're still working on it. It's a bit of a marathon, as you're pointing out. G Skillet 0001 says the tweets coming from, I love this. The tweets coming from Slim Chancho have been fire. So hey, Jackson is an avid a user of Instagram and Twitter. You guys should follow him on all platforms. It's a good experience because there was this one tweet, apparently, was that this morning? Yesterday, Jackson said, I should start selling my energy because I have so much of it.
Oh yeah, I will make a ton of money doing that. But nah, yeah, just follow me and see what you're missing out on. You know,
check it out.
Check me out.
I follow Jackson, and there's a tweet a day that I love. Let's keep it real. So thank you guys for joining us on the watch list. That does it for another Monday edition here, you guys. Hopefully things will start turning around. We're gonna get some action from these Democrats, but it's been an angry day. Thank you guys. Thank you, Jackson, for being here to analyze this with us. Up next is John Iadarola with the Damage Report. See you guys on Tuesday.
Welcome back, one and all, to another day, another week here at The Damage Report. I am John Iadarola, as always. And also, as always, at least for now, it's a fantastic Monday with Francesca Fiorentini. Francesca, how's it going?
Don't say that. You're gonna scare people.
Come on, how come the right gets to start conspiracy theories, but I can't start one? Yeah. Come on. What is up with Francesca, and why are there so many bricks in her background? That's what I want to know.
Bricks?
Yeah, I'm kidding. Anyway, glad to have you here.
Oh, you're starting. We're doing a theory.
I was teasing. Yeah. How was the Bitchuation Room last night?
Oh my God, epic. Like so long, the longest ever, because there's so much to bitch about. And it was good. I had comedian Kate Willett on. There's good news. Remember the Colombian election that we covered a week ago? So we got a little bit more in depth with what was going on and what is going on in Colombia. So definitely listen and watch wherever you can. You know, it's tiresome, John, fighting fascism. One podcast at a time.
Do you ever think about, instead of fighting fascism, just surrendering in the face of fascism? That seems like it'd be a lot easier.
Well, I've already surrendered to soon to be motherhood. So all I need is just to put like mom and a flag in my bio, and like I'm pretty much a right winger.
That's true. You can make some money. Anyway, thank you everyone for being here, for watching the show. Many of you, I see people are asking, I did tweet about it, but people are asking why there was no pre-show. I just wanted to maintain my voice, not for any particular reason, as I'm sure you can hear, I am in the best of health right now. So it's just for no reason or anything. But anyway, no, I'm a little bit sick. According to the tests, not COVID, but as if we needed a reminder, all of the diseases that already existed still exist. We just also have COVID now. You can
John,
still get
you've had like 5 colds since COVID started.
Yeah,
I've been amazingly healthy except for the time I had COVID. So I just want to put all of that out there.
Yeah, I've been really good and diligent in not getting COVID, but I do lick a lot of household items, and I just think maybe in this era I have to find a new hobby. I don't know what that would be. I have to look for one. Anyway, we have a lot that we're gonna be talking about through the course of this show. Obviously, Roe v. Wade was destroyed last week, and we wanted to do some follow-up to it, but I just couldn't find anything that had to do with that topic. And so if it becomes newsworthy at some point, we'll return to it. But for now, we've got nothing on abortion. Anyway, we've got a lot on abortion, which we'll be talking about, and a bunch of other stuff too. So everyone, I'm gonna need you to buckle up and hold on to your butts as we launch into that. Hit the like button if you haven't already, that would be great. And with all that said, Francesca, are you ready to start this thing?
Yes.
I'm gonna fake out my director right now because I'm gonna go into the A block in a sec, but hold. Because I just wanted to mention this. We didn't have time to produce it for the full show. I saw a headline before we went live. You know what the headline was? Children forced to flee for safety after armed man draws gun at drag queen story hour. The Sparks Police Department had apparently been watching the event and the protest that was going on from the Proud Boys, who were, of course, protesting a drag queen story hour. They eventually left. I guess they decided maybe the Proud Boys will be good. We don't need to watch them. And someone, we don't know if it was a Proud Boy or not, pulled a gun at the event. So that's cool. You go to the event like that to protest, to protect kids from books, I don't know. And you bring a gun and then you draw the gun. And so congrats everyone, we have taken one step closer to where, look, you're not supposed to say it, but I think we all know where this is going. Someone is gonna shoot up one of these events. That's what's going to happen. That's what they want to happen. That is why the right is trying to freak people out. It is trying to put all of their attention, all their focus on these things. Lives be damned, whether lives are ruined, whether lives are ended, in pursuit of keeping people so drunk on rage and fear and suspicion and hatred that they don't realize why the state of their lives is so awful, why they can't seem to keep up, let alone get ahead, why Republican politicians will never deliver literally anything for them. They can't focus on that because they're angry about the drag queen story hour or Dr. Seuss or a Buzz Lightyear gay kiss or God knows what. So that's fun. I just want to make sure we mention that.
Yeah, I mean, who knew masculinity was that fragile? I thought some of the traits were like stalwartness, ability to reason. But no, we're just pulling out, like I liken this to the other day on my show, and I'm gonna say it again, which is like, I feel like we're going through the climate change of culture war stuff, where like all the crap legislation and old ideas that were buried in the permafrost are now being released as like all of like the warming of our country happens. And we're like, oh yeah, remember how we hated drag shows back? Maybe, kind of. Let's bring it back up. Let's do it. It's like anthrax.
Yeah, you are 100% right, and that is a great metaphor. Nothing else about this is great, but that metaphor is pretty damn good.
Thank you.
Okay, with that said, why don't we jump back into our regularly scheduled production so that Sophie doesn't shoot me through the internet. So let's jump into this video.
President Trump, on behalf of all the MAGA patriots in America, I want to thank you for the historic victory for life in the Supreme Court yesterday.
That was, of course, a Freudian slip. I think, I hope, probably not. She probably said what she wanted to, and the crowd loved it, by the way. They were cheering. But anyway, the right is very excited. And when I say the right, I don't just mean Republican Representative Mary Miller, who had Trump stumping for her there. No, the right is really excited about getting rid of Roe v. Wade, about the end of reproductive rights, but not just the Supreme Court guarantee that you have this right. That's not enough for them that red states are stripping this away. They want to go way further than that. As I'm sure you've seen over the past few days, the GOP is eyeing in a variety of different ways federal abortion restrictions after the Dobbs case that was taken up. And not just at the state level, by the way. There will be new bills at the state level, but there will also be federal legislation. Representative Jim Banks, Republican, said there are, quote, lots of legislative vehicles that are getting broad Republican support, from a 15-week ban to a heartbeat bill, which is propaganda, it doesn't mean anything, to a total ban. Just, like we've had times where the right has gone from this should be a states' right thing to, oh wait, do we have more power than I thought? We should just ban it entirely. Never has it progressed as quickly as it is these days. Representative Bob Good, by the way, another Republican from Virginia, said he's championed a total abortion ban. It's been co-sponsored by more than 160 House Republicans. And he said, we need to do what our base sent here to do and what is the right thing to do, which is to ban all abortions. So to all the Republicans out there, you should get out the narrative that you don't actually mean that this should be a state thing quickly, because very soon you are going to be enthusiastically supporting a nationwide total ban on abortion in all cases. So Francesca, it is exciting to live in these times where things are proceeding so quickly in the wrong direction, but they are proceeding quickly.
Yeah, and I do want to say, number one, that display of saying white life and then having it cheered, whether or not it was a Freudian slip, upon like listening to it multiple times and her saying, oh, I meant to say the right to life. You're like, yeah, but it kind of worked anyway, didn't it? And given her track record, sort of praising Hitler for understanding the youth, like I wouldn't put it past Representative Miller. But here's what I will say about all the stuff that's coming down the pike. I do think it's important for us, as much as we rage and get angry and oh my God, these are crimes against humanity and people will die. And it is unconscionable, especially me as a pregnant woman right now, thinking about the idea that I might need an abortion in a third trimester. And if I couldn't get one, then I would just die. Oh, also the baby might die. So everybody dies. And that's what strong families want. Put all that aside. This is also a moment of like incredible legal fights. So lawyers and like will be called upon en masse, and people who are thinking about getting into this. If you are smart, I'm not one of you. I'm not law student smart. But that being said,
clever.
But if you have a law degree and you're like, I'm not gonna use that. I know a couple people like this. Use it. We need you. And sadly, this is going to be a court battle on a state level and on a federal level for a very, for a long time for the foreseeable future. And I hate that that is the case, but it's not that we have to roll over to all these new bans. They can be stopped. Lawsuits, as I know some in Michigan are being, there are challenges to these bills, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, 100%. And it's gonna come in multiple forms. So you're gonna have a lot of state legislatures in places where it's effectively already banned in every single case instantly. They're gonna be looking for more stuff to do. And one of the big things they're gonna try to do is exert their control over what happens in other states. So in the same way that some blue states are trying to make themselves a better place for people who live in the 1950s in a red state to go to exercise the freedoms they had last Thursday, the right is going to be trying to figure out ways to lock up people when they come back. That's what they're going to be doing. We are basically, as many people acknowledged, in a reproductive rights focused fugitive like slave law state. That's where we're at in America.
Yeah.
Where you have this massive distinction where literally like stepping over a border and over a border, you have rights, you don't have rights. You have them right now, oops, there they go. That's the place that we're in as a country. And they're not happy for you to cross over to the place where they recognize your fundamental humanity. And so they will track you down. And if you ever go back in there, you could be facing massive fines, you could be facing jail time. That's what's going to happen to you in America. And then looming over all of it is that they're just gonna try to ban it everywhere. We live in, like nationally, we already know that people do not want Roe v. Wade to be destroyed. But we also know there are places like California where it's such a minority opinion, it doesn't matter. They're going to convince conservative Republicans in Mississippi that their rights are being threatened in some way if someone living in Sacramento exercises the rights they've had their entire life. And so they will be coming for that. That is coming up. And so there shouldn't need to be next steps for people to understand that we have to fight back against this, but they are coming. The Republicans who have been campaigning on this for so long in lieu of an actual policy platform that identifies the problems facing America and puts forward rational solutions for them, they've been doing this their whole lives. They're not suddenly gonna say, well, we got it. I guess we gotta start taking policy seriously now. No, they're gonna be looking for more. Everybody does the comparison to the dog that's chasing a car and finally it's caught it. And so what does it do now? Well, it's Republicans, so it's probably gonna chew the hell out of the car and then go look for something else to attack.
Well, usually in that analogy, your movement loses because the dog will get hurt by the car. But in this case, no, like the dog lifts up car, spins it overhead and throws it at a group of protesters. That's sort of what I'm seeing is going to happen. And I think we need to remember that exactly you're right. Like we are going back to a time when the right and people like Ben Shapiro, like you have co-opted civil rights language to make it about themselves, and because they think we're so far gone. That's why the Supreme Court, the Voting Rights Act was gutted by the Supreme Court, was because it was like, well, we don't need this anymore because we're like everything's fine and there is no more racism. So we're slowly like rolling everything back to the point where actually it's not a meta comment, it's not ironic, it's not a well now the mantle of freedom is upon white people. No, it's just resegregation, like a rolling back of rights for all people, women, LGBTQ plus people, like Black Americans, obviously. So like this is gonna keep on happening, and we need to reclaim the mantle of freedom rhetorically. Like freedom is now the progressive and left mantle. This is an issue of freedom, as so many of these rights that we have gained over the last 50, 100 years is.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, they will say that it's about civil rights when what civil rights is supposed to be about finding the people who have been discriminated against structurally and individually and getting them up to a level of equality with everyone else. Instead now, it is taking the people who are in the strongest, most dominant position in the country and increasing their ability to choose what other rights other people have based on religious dogma or whim or whatever the libs of TikTok account tweeted that day. That's what it is to them. Now that said, let's move into the next part of this. Let's jump into this video.
We will make sure that when a kid is in the womb, they're as safe as they are in a classroom.
Now I have to assume that Sarah Huckabee Sanders isn't dumb enough to not realize what she's doing right there. I assume that she is intelligent and she knows that, in particular, after coming from the weeks that we've had of Roe v. Wade being destroyed, yes, but also a school being shot up and Republicans doing literally nothing to stop it from happening the next time, that she is in fact purposefully spitting in our face.
Yep.
To imply that she cares about whether kids are safe in schools. She doesn't. She's a Republican. She doesn't care. The next school shooter, if they decide to go up and kill as many kids as possible, Sarah Huckabee Sanders will fight to make sure that they have the deadliest weapons possible. But that said, the idea that you have Republicans out there talking about this issue, both of those issues, which by the way, the American people do not support them on, is it impossible that that could hurt Republicans a little bit in the upcoming midterms? Well, Republicans seem to be worried about that. One strategist, John Thomas, told Politico, this is not a conversation we want to have. We want to have a conversation about the economy. That's a lie, he doesn't, but I understand why he'd say that. We want to have a conversation about Joe Biden. That's true. About pretty much anything else besides Roe. This is a losing issue for Republicans. And a former Republican congressman said, the only thing Democrats have got going for them is the Roe thing, which is what? 40 years of settled law that will be changed, that will cause some societal consternation. How condescending is that as an evaluation of this issue? And they could turn that into some turnout. I think the answer is probably yes. And he says maybe instead of losing 45 seats, they lose 30. At a minimum, there will be a few seats that Republicans would have won without the abortion rights decision, and they may not win them now. So that is, look, obviously condescending. The idea that like, oh, people are gonna be like freaked out because they lost some rights they've had their whole life. And I personally think that the fact that the Democrats are jumping so into this and viewing all of this through the lens of, ooh, maybe this will help allay the fact that we haven't done anything for 2 years. Or, ooh, maybe we can raise a little bit of money. I find that to be disgusting. There is going to be an electoral consequence. That is not the thing that I'm principally concerned about. But it is interesting that at the same time the Republicans are worried about this, and that Trump allegedly from sources doesn't think they should have done this, even though he chose Supreme Court justices who would do this, that now you have these either dumb or purposefully provocative candidates out there spitting in people's faces about this very issue.
I mean, we have to address the Sarah Huckabee Sanders thing right off the bat. It is absolutely sick and twisted to say that we want to make children as safe as they are in school weeks after a mass shooting in a school. You know exactly what you're doing. You claim now that with more guns and bulletproof everything, putting kids in bubbles and selling those bubbles, renting them for just $9.99 a month, whatever, you know what I mean? And oh, by the way, my father and family is invested in that bubble company. Like whatever it is cynical and disgusting. And also notice how she and so many anti-choicers speak about babies in the womb. Well, the womb, is attached to something. What is it? God, ooh, what is it attached to? Oh, another effing human being that is currently gestating it, that is doing the work to keep it alive. You can only keep a baby in the womb as safe as you keep the mom safe. So what the hell are you actually talking about? Until you've found a way to matrix harvest your way out of women, which bless the day, honestly. Like, what are you talking about anymore? It's disgusting, and it again reduces women to being nothing but objects, nothing but like, carriers of the next generation, as if every goddamn person who's anti-choice was not birthed thanks to a woman's struggle and sacrifice. Yeah. I can't with someone like that. Finally, I don't know, man. I think you might be right. I think the fact that the right has something they can actually show for in the last few years, which is, hey, maybe it's not super popular, but at least they did something. I think that brings more people out to the polls than not doing anything.
Yeah, maybe they'll be able to say that they delivered. They won't necessarily be able to run it as much, but no, but again, they're just gonna say no. We need to get more elected so that we can ban it federally, because look. Like you voter in Tennessee or in Texas, or whatever, we're not gonna deliver anything to you. You know that fundamentally. But like, wouldn't it be nice if someone living in Oregon couldn't get an abortion anymore? Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that make you feel better as you can't own a home or retire or whatever? Wouldn't that make you feel better as you're dying from exposure during the climate change intensified hot season. Wouldn't that make you feel better? It won't, by the way, that's the spoiler, but some people might be deluded into thinking that it will. Okay, with that said, we're gonna take our first break. When we come back, we got a lot more to talk about, including what can actually be done. Because the answer, importantly, is not nothing after this. Okay, everybody, let's see what is going on out there. Well, first of all, one of the things that was going on inside of this network was that our show came about right after the watch list happens every day, right before our program. You can hang out with Jared Jackson and his awesome group of co-hosts. And that happens every day in the hour preceding our show. And in the hour and a half after our show, Indisputable will be coming up next. You got Rashad Ritchie, Ben Carolla, I believe, will be joining Rashad later on today, so stick around for that. Now, let's see. Shakata Ganai in the members section says, nothing like bringing a gun to the library children's section, eh? Exactly. No, like it's just a perfect summary of like protect the children from what? The concept of other people's lives. Not from guns. Bring the gun, potentially shoot the kid. But as long as they don't know that other people's experiences exist. Oh, I'm hearing now that Adrian is gonna be filling in for Dr. Ritchie. So Adrian and Betty Crowell, that'll be awesome.
Nice.
Naughtiest Maximus says, get better, John. Good to see you in France. So much stress and accompanying lack of good sleep is affecting all of us. And I think our immune systems are feeling it. That could be.
Yeah.
Could be it. Okay, let's see. A Florida Dragon has been a tier 2 member for 17 months over on YouTube and says, but how are we going to pay for all of these babies? Responded, none of our representation. Well, I saw, we weren't able to fit it under the rundown today, but there was a woman, I forget who, she was on Fox News on Friday, and she was on a panel, and she was saying, well, I would love now to see these Republican state legislatures increasing, money to support all of the mothers they'll be creating by force, by government power. And a conservative on the panel, like freaked out, like, oh, come on. That's where you're gonna go with this. And he was like shouting the woman down, which I think is a great look on the day that the rights are taken away. Yeah, we should help out the people that didn't want to be parents largely because they couldn't afford it and weren't ready for it. We should help them out. That is what he was yelling at her. And so no, they're not gonna be helping them out. They were stripping away food stamps before and now pretending to care about people not being able to feed their families. Anyway, Suspicious Pergola sent in a super chat saying a pickup truck drove, it's a pretty funny name, isn't it? A pickup truck drove directly into a group of protesters in Cedar Rapids, no charges thus far. Yes, we will be talking about that actually a little bit later on. Or in the very near future, Francesca might be talking about it. I might visibly be here. I'm not sure that there's gonna be any voice left by then. Anyway, May Bunny in the building says, who is out here educating these bums on the right? Their teachers need to be fired. Gonna go punch stuff. Also, Fran, I made some waist beads for you.
Ooh,
that's nice.
Waist beads, that sounds cute.
I'm gonna need to see it. Well, thank you. Brett Campbell says, all of us Monday TDR viewers are complete fanatics.
Yay.
Is fanatics a thing? Have you heard that before?
No, but I like it. Yeah, Frans.
How has that never been a thing before? The fanatics. I love it.
Only Frans is a thing. I mean, not really, but.
That's good, that's good. I like that. Six Dragon Sharon says, sending dragon hearts to Cheese Dragon and all those in Twitch chat. That's nice. Man, a message from one platform to another, I like it. Jonah Morton says the far right hates drag shows because shows are fun and they're such a drag. It's gotten so bad you can't even do comedy without getting banned. They do hate cancel culture though. Sort of. Somehow, but not really. Let's see, Spud says, I'm waiting for them to come for veterinary drugs next. Watch, they're gonna start regulating what medication can get sent home for pets. Well, no, they're fine with the pet medication being sent home as long as a human is the one that takes it. But I'm done. Hey, remember when they got a bunch of people killed and they made some money off of it? That was fun. Anyway, we got more news. Don't go anywhere.
You need ivermectin, dude.
I might need to take some colloidal silver. I don't know, what metals or cow drugs can I take?
God, was that one of the things? Colloidal silver?
Yep. Yeah, Candace Owens told people to take it. It doesn't fix any of the things she says. It has really negative side effects, but she is still making tons of money as a credible commentator on the right. because there are no consequences for literally anything you do. By the way, it wasn't just people on the right telling people to inject stuff like that.
Oh no.
And really fast, saw a study. Vaccination apparently worldwide they're estimating saved like 20 million lives, which is great news, Of course, a lot of people still did die. And so I will never stop having the scorn that I have for everyone who opportunistically, for audience share or crowdfunding money, increased the number of people who needlessly died. And you should have just as much scorn for them. Anyway, with that said, why don't we jump into some more news, starting with this.
But also what I believe that the president and the Democratic Party needs to come to terms with is that this is not just a crisis of Roe, this is a crisis of our democracy.
And that is AOC saying that the issues with the Supreme Court is about reproductive rights. That is true, but it's not the only thing that the Supreme Court is ruling on, destroying any concept of precedent, caring not at all about what the people actually think. They're delivering ideological wins for their side. That's what they're doing. And that is a big issue, and we do have to deal with it. She's gonna describe a little bit more about that here.
Court has dramatically overreached its authority. We had 2 conservative senators in the United States Senate, Senator Manchin and Senator Collins, come out with a very explosive allegation that several Supreme Court justices misled them during their confirmation hearings and in the lead up to their confirmation. This is a crisis of legitimacy. We have a Supreme Court justice whose wife participated in January 6th and who used his seat to vote against providing documents that potentially led to evidence of such to investigators in Congress. This is a crisis of legitimacy, and President Biden must address that.
And so what AOC is doing right there is bringing up one of many things that could actually be done. Of course, the Democrats are in charge, so probably nothing will be done. But consequences for those on the Supreme Court that are, as AOC just described there illegitimately, that is one thing that we could do. And she is in fact calling for impeachments of Supreme Court justices there, saying if we allow Supreme Court nominees to lie under oath and secure lifetime appointments to the highest court of the land, and then issue without basis rulings that deeply undermine the human and civil rights of the majority of Americans, we must see that through. I believe lying under oath is an impeachable offense. They're talking about Gorsuch and Kavanaugh. The Senate has a constitutional duty, an obligation to advise and consent on Supreme Court justices. They do those hearings as part of that. We are supposed to be assessing who these people would be if they were given extremely powerful until they're dead spots on the Supreme Court. If they lie during that process, it seems like there should be some consequences for that. Now, of course, the Republicans don't want there to be consequences in this particular case. But can you imagine what they would do if Sotomayor or Ketanji Brown Jackson or someone just clearly lied about what they would do, and the second they got on the court, they did the opposite? Now, it is pointless pointing out hypocrisy on the right, because the very concept of hypocrisy relies on there being standards for which you to have different positions on. The right doesn't have any standards, so they by definition can't actually be hypocritical. But that doesn't mean that the Democrats, who are in charge, can't or shouldn't do something about these justices who have lied to the American people and are in a position to continue to do so for literally decades, Francesca.
Yeah, and there was clarity and specificity in her critiques, something that we haven't heard from other Democratic leadership, really. AOC is not in the leadership, sadly, as much as people think because she's on Meet the Press, she is, right? You have not seen that or heard that from Nancy Pelosi or President Joe Biden, calling out the lying under oath, speaking directly about how Senator Mitch McConnell, who is not a great guy, who is not a stand-up guy, who is not a guy you should respect, took the Supreme Court justice nominee away from the man who you served as vice president to. What are you talking about? So again, showing some kind of real leadership here is so important. And look, here's the thing. We all knew they were lying through their teeth. And the senators who confirmed them knew they were lying through their teeth. The reason we say we saw this coming is because when Donald Trump was elected, we knew this was going to happen. I'm sorry, we knew that he was gonna push through Supreme Court justice nominees, that he was gonna confirm them somehow. And even senators knew that, people who were sitting on these committees. And did they do anything about it? Did they withhold their vote? Did they walk out? Did they stop? No. Senator Dianne Feinstein said that the Amy Coney Barrett hearing was the best process she's ever been a part of.
Ridiculous.
And yeah, she doesn't know anything about much right now, except for which foods don't give her gas. And like, I get that, but like, this is like, seriously, girl, like beef up on your ginkgo leaf and let's do this, okay? Because we need you right now and we've needed them. And so it's just kind of like, I know, because from the right, it feels like, oh, this is retroactive. Why would you be mad at this now? And you're like, and I think they kind of have a point, because we've all seen this coming. We should have impeached Clarence Thomas before this. We should impeach Kavanaugh before this. We should have fought back against Merrick Garland not being confirmed or getting a confirmation hearing before this.
Yeah, and we called for it at the time. Unfortunately, progressives are not in charge. They really should be. I think the country would be a much better place. But that said, impeaching the Supreme Court justices, that is one thing that we can do. There are other things in theory we could do as well. So let's jump into this video as Ayanna Pressley describes some of them.
I don't even have the space for skepticism or cynicism. This is a public health emergency. It is a matter of life and death. We need to engage every level of government, to engage every tool available.
Look, I agree with Representative Ayanna Pressley about what needs to be done in the wake of Roe v. Wade being eliminated by this out of control Christian radical majority in the Supreme Court. And I specifically wanted to do this segment because I have gotten tweets like this one. I was tweeting, I just want the Democrats to do something. And someone replied to me, do you realize it starts with state legislation? And I don't know that person. I don't know their politics. But there are a lot of people who their knee-jerk reaction to anything bad happening is whatever there's got to be something that means that the Democrats aren't responsible for this, that they don't have to do anything. They can't. I mean, what are you supposed to do? There are all these impediments. There are all these things. Well, no, that like I'm going to assume that you're operating in good faith and reassure you that yes, state legislatures could do a lot and should do a lot. They need to do a lot, but they are hardly the only thing that can be done in the wake of Roe v. Wade being destroyed. Ayanna Pressley, by the way, points out some in her tweet saying, abolish the filibuster and pass the Women's Health Protection Act. So to codify Roe into law. Those are things that the Democrats could do if they wanted to. Joe Biden could declare a public health emergency, and we'll have more on what that could look like, what could be done there. Establish state abortion havens. That is something the federal government could do and state governments can do. You can expand the Supreme Court and reform it massively. And there are high stakes to that. And in addition to what Ayanna Pressley had to say, Senators Warren and I believe, was it Smith? Yes, Warren and Smith, they specifically wanted one of those things to be done, the declaration of a public health emergency, saying, we urge the president in this letter they released to declare a public health emergency to protect abortion access for all Americans, unlocking critical resources and authority that states and the federal government can use to meet the surge in demand for reproductive health services. We need access to abortion medication, providing federal resources for individuals seeking abortion care in other states, and using federal property and resources to protect people seeking abortion services locally. Did you know that the federal government owns land in basically every state in America and could set up clinics where people could get access to their reproductive rights, the health care that they need? So they have other ideas as well. But there are a lot of things that Joe Biden has to do in the wake of what happened, Francesca.
Absolutely, and one of them is like sitting down with your boy president, the other president, Joe, and talking to Manchin, and actually putting pressure on him, something he's somehow so incapable of doing. Just does not, oh my God, he just crumbles, he's just so charming. Like, you're the president, you're the leader of the party. You absolutely can strong arm Joe Manchin. And if you need Vice President Harris to do it for you, then so be it. Because what we heard from the Build Back Better discussion was that she was very much sidelined on that whole thing and she wanted to go a little bit harder. But the thing I would say is, look to recent history, the vaccine rollout. Look at the testing, which came thanks to Jen Psaki giving the worst answer in response to why don't we just get tests sent to our homes. But we got tests sent to our homes. I sent away, filled out a form, and I got medical devices to test for COVID in the mail. Amazing. What if we did that for Plan C? What if we did that for misoprostol? Where if you need an abortion, God damn it, you send it to ask the government and we will give it to you. At least try to do that. Yes, the courts will have something to say. A lot of Trump appointed judges will have something to say. But at least you could help people right now. Clinics are being currently shut down. People were turned away. People with appointments were turned away. So what that could do is just incredible. Obviously, yeah. So I'm just thinking about that because COVID is such recent history. And yet, ironically, as I'm on the streets chanting abortion is healthcare, abortion is healthcare, you realize this country not that good with healthcare. No. Generally.
No. And worse, I would say, than we were before the pandemic, because so many Republicans have been convinced that healthcare is a bad thing, that you should not care about it. You shouldn't care about what's happening to other people.
And they've politicized a lot of like state health boards.
Definitely.
Right?
Yeah, 100%. Okay, with that, we need to move into one of the craziest things I've heard in quite a while. Let's jump into this video.
Now, the left will say, well, what about in cases of rape or incest? I'm a law enforcement officer. I became a police officer in 2011.
Yeah.
I've worked one case where as a result of a rape, the young woman became pregnant.
Really?
And it's my job, number one, as a believer, right, to give you all of the resources available.
Right.
If you decide to deviate and do something else, we don't stop loving you.
Right.
That's when you need even more support, right? Because of the data that we have, it's been proven that women that do move forward with an abortion,
you gotta thank Lisa
they
for
suffer so much, right?
So that is a Republican nominee running against Democrat Abigail Spanberger, talking there about, I know, just downplaying.
Don't make me defend Abigail Spanberger.
Exactly. No, I have no interest in doing that. But it turns out that yes, Vega is crazier because like everything has to be rebooted in the modern era. So this idea that if she has personally only, when she was a cop, dealt with one case of pregnancy that came about as a result of rape, well then that's it. We don't have to worry about that anymore. And as bad as everything you just heard was, there's actually more. Take a listen to this.
Well, I've even, you were saying you only ran into one instance of pregnancy as the result of rape. And I mean, I've actually heard that it's harder for a woman to get pregnant if she's been raped. Have you heard that?
Well, maybe because there's so much going on in the body. I don't know. I haven't seen any studies.
Yeah.
But if I'm processing what you're saying, it wouldn't surprise me because it's not something that's happening organically.
Yeah. Right.
You're
exactly.
forcing it.
That the body shuts down in some way.
Yeah, and then the individual, the male, is doing it as quickly. It's not like, and so I can see why maybe there's truth to that.
I tell you, it's wonderful.
So I apologize if you didn't hear everything that she just said there, but what she was saying was among the most disgusting things that I've ever heard. So first of all, in terms of the facts, she may only have had experience with one woman. And I'm glad, by the way, that other people that were going through this horrible instance did not have to interact with her during one of the hardest times of their lives, because that would have only made it worse. But according to the CDC, nearly 3 million women in the US have experienced rape-related pregnancy. So that's the thing about anecdotes. They're BS. They don't teach us literally anything. But what she said there was, during rape, it's not happening organically. And the man is doing it fast, so I guess, I don't know. Now look, asked for comment about her remarks, she says, I'm a mother of 2. I'm fully aware of how women get pregnant. Now, I get how the fact that she's had 2 kids might imply that she knows something about the process, but the words coming out of her mouth imply that there's some significant gaps potentially. If she thinks that whether it's a loving experience has any influence, or whether there was enough time spent on it, enough foreplay potentially, all of this is absolutely disgusting. And this is what she chooses to say about this. And by the way, this isn't new. As we'll get to, this is just the Todd Aiken stuff all over again. They're rebooting everything. But the idea that we can outlaw abortions even in cases of rape, because she has no idea how any of this works biologically, and she hasn't personally dealt with enough people. The fact that there's been literally millions of cases is unpersuasive to her because that's a fact, and she lives off in La La Land. Francesca, what do you think?
Well, right. I mean, Republicans struggle with object permanence. That is the fact. I mean, I would like to see the stats on that, unless it happened to them or their immediate family, not second cousin, but like first cousin counts, then it's not real. Okay, so if I can't hold it, it's not real. And you know how you can't like touch rape? So, you know what I'm saying? Have you ever touched the moon? How do you know it's there? Like, this is what we're dealing with here. And in that entire disgusting exchange, you get the feeling that they're actually just kind of justifying rape. Like, at a certain point, it's like, it almost sounds like they're saying rape isn't that bad. Like, oh, well, hey, because you don't get pregnant anyway. These are the same people who in 2 years will be defending marital rape, which is illegal. But no. Since we're going back, if it is rape out in wedlock, well, then that's legitimate rape and that's fine, right? It's so disgusting to me, like over and over and over again. As if like, and this is an awful cop, but as if we don't know that like, rape kits aren't currently sitting untested in warehouses from like 100%. Other non-awful cops.
Yeah. And is she fighting to deal with that? No, you're totally right. It is sort of justifying rape. I mean, it could be worse. It could result in pregnancy. But do you get what else is justifying? This is one of the reasons people were so freaked out about Todd Aiken. The body naturally shuts it down, right? It's basically impossible to get pregnant. So what if you do? So I guess it wasn't rape. I mean, since the body naturally shuts it down, and yet millions of people are getting pregnant, I don't know. Maybe they're lying. And maybe after all, like I'm implying this, control. They say this constantly that women lie.
You're saying the same thing that like exactly like it wasn't rape. Maybe rape is birth control. Like we are justifying rape. It's the same thing with Governor Greg Abbott of Texas being like, we're gonna eliminate rape in this state. Good luck.
100%. Look, we need to get to one more thing just because there's more insanity. So we're gonna jump ahead to the fourth video, the cold open. So why don't we jump into this?
That I clearly don't trust women enough to make choices to control their own body. And my response is, I do trust women enough to control when they allow a man to ejaculate. So inside of them and to control that intake of semen. So that may be inflammatory, but I think as a legislature, we have the responsibility to create a legal framework that is friendly in supporting rights.
So that is State Representative Carrie-Ann Lisenby of Utah, who acknowledges that what she's saying is incendiary. I would say that's a good starting point, but then goes on to describe that what she advocates for is a friendly policy. She thinks women should just be more responsible about controlling who they allow to ejaculate inside of them, because women always have control over that. Clearly, guys don't lie, guys don't force, taking off condoms and stuff like that. The stealthing controversies that we've had in the US. And certainly Carrie-Ann Lisenby, I'm sure on some level is familiar with the concept of rape, but when it comes to legislating, she conveniently seems to forget that it happens constantly to a very significant portion of every woman in America, Francesca.
I just, what I wanna say about this woman, I cannot say, but just give up, lady, like you're so gone. When I hear someone like that, I'm like, either one of us has to leave the country. Yeah. And I would like it to be you forever.
I'd prefer that.
I just like, it's a legislator is straight up saying control the semen intake. We don't need to hear any of that out of your mouth ever. And again, and the reason we don't is because of what Roe v. Wade established, which is we have a right to privacy in this country. We have a right to our own bodily autonomy, and what happens in our bedrooms happens in our bedrooms. But if you're going there, lady, clearly you don't know much about sex, honey, because you definitely can't control your partner's semen outtake / your intake. Sorry, that doesn't always happen.
Yeah,
just 100%. Insane to me.
Yeah,
and you're like, oh, I trust women to control the men. Really?
It has to be on them. Well, why would it ever be on the men? The men are the ones that she is trying to appeal with this whole thing she's doing with her career as a legislator. This is not about controlling men. This is about men controlling everyone. That's what this is about. Let's be clear about that.
Never being on the hook for anything.
100%. Yeah, she's not pushing for mandatory paternity tests and lifetime, childcare and paying for education. They're not asking for that because they don't care, because it's not about that. And she responded saying, I didn't express what I actually meant. That's not what I meant. I'm familiar with the concept of rape and all that. Well, that's very reassuring. But again, you don't believe that women should be responsible for this, that they should be able to choose. Sophie, we're in the middle of something. Hold on a second. The final point that I want to make is, so even there in their state, in Utah, they do have allowances for if the woman has been raped. But I will say what I will always say, that everything about this is political from their point of view. The reason that the left or rational people will point out that you have to make allowances for rape is because the idea that you would force someone to give birth to someone, the child of someone who's raped them, is abhorrent. And some on the right will say, well, that makes sense. Obviously, we should have a carve out for that. But do you get that ideologically that doesn't make any sense whatsoever? If they believe what they actually say they believe, which is that it is murder, how the hell would it make any difference if it was the product of rape or not? Yeah. When they concede that, what they're saying is they do not believe what they actually believe, or they believe it, but they just want as much as they can get, and they understand on some level that not having an allowance for rape would just not work politically. But there is no ethical, philosophical, or ideological basis to that. If you actually believe that it's murder, there would be no allowances in that case, and you would 100% be locking up women at the very least as a response for that. There are some extremists like that in the Republican Party. They are the only ones being honest about what they actually believe. It's disgusting. None of that should happen. But in the same way that it doesn't make sense to force people to give the birth to the product of rape, it makes as little sense to force them to give birth to literally anything they don't want to. That is the consistent position.
Last thing, they're bad faith, which is why we need to demand abortion free, on demand, without apology. That is the ask, because you can never fight them on their grounds of, well, what about rape and incest? No, F that. You don't fight them on those grounds because we know what they're actually going for. It's a total and complete ban.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, with that said, we're gonna take our second break. When we come back, we're gonna switch it up and talk about some other stuff for a bit. Don't worry, we'll be returning to this. But for now, we're going to break. Okay, everybody, let's see what's going on out there. Apologies, especially for those, well, I guess if they're listening on the podcast, they're not hearing this, but I have like 50% of the voice I had like 40 minutes ago, so apologies for that. Okay, the Squirrel Nut Mafia, that's weird, says, I get it, and it could be worse, but I think we all know that it's going in that direction. Anyway, getting an abortion in any state is very easy. Step one, put up for adoption the moment you find out you're pregnant. 2, say it has not paid any rent and is freeloading. 3, just wait for every Republican fight to evict it. That took a bit to get there, but I get what you're saying. Anyway, Eclectic Mrs. Democracy. Is that a new name for Eclectic Miscellanea? It says the watch list plus TDR plus indisputable equals a daily 1, 2, 3 punch against the fascist right and their establishment enablers. Thank you, thank you. If only there was a fourth punch, a final uppercut, like from Francesca Fiorentini.
Yeah, man.
Anyway, that'd be cool.
Bitchuation Room.
Late night thing. Bitchuation Room, there you go. ER Phil says mailing meds cannot be touched by local laws because states have no authority over the US Postal Service. I get on some level that makes sense, but they are outlawing the delivery, so they're finding some way to do it. I'm not a lawyer. I am as little a lawyer as Francesca is. Anyway.
Yeah, but you got more law school vibe than I do. You've got a master's, so.
That's sort of. Anyway, Daedalus, member for 12 months, says trying to address the elephant in the womb and having the Dems just twiddle their thumbs makes me want ranked choice voting so bad. Right there with you.
I hate you for saying elephant in the womb. That's
pretty good.
The dumbest pun. but also good.
Can it be the title of this podcast?
Elephant in the womb.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I don't like it. But anyway, Ray Pierce, member for 12 months, says they're talking about banning life-saving medications based on the fact that it can harm fetuses. 100%, 100%. And one of the most frustrating thing about this, even the point that I was making about, exceptions for rape and about whether they're gonna lock up the women and everything, like it is just an outgrowth of a belief that we should point out hypocrisy or that we should point out gaps between a person's position and what the science actually says. But again, even while doing that, I'm not doing it because it's gonna have a difference. Again, it isn't really hypocrisy because they are not claiming to have consistent positions.
No.
That you are then pointing out are not consistent. They don't, they have opportunistic positions. That's what they have, that change as necessary from case to case. That's what they have. Long-haired hippie dragon's been a member for 8 months, says SCOTUS is now illegitimate and is broken. We need to add 4 justices to the court to repair its legitimacy. We need to get this done to save our country. I think that that's perfectly fine. I think though, reform of the Supreme Court should be less about the numbers and more about how, like, there has to be some relationship to what the people actually want, and they should not be lifetime appointments. It just shouldn't work.
Yes, yes.
Okay, I am going to attempt to get through the rest of this thing. Pear, thank you for your super chat, much appreciated. Oh my God, I'm missing a lot of these. Sassy P with a big super chat saying, I need to move to a country where my vote means more since it is in a sea of blue right now. Ugh, I am medically trained and this is hurting my brain. Well, I'm right there with you with the brain pain, definitely. Amanda, thank you for the super sticker, much appreciated. Arcane1G Garcia, member for 19 months, says baby from incest in gal, 18-year-old life is life-threatening to mother. I have a little bit of a hard time understanding that, but thank you for the message and for sticking with us. Much appreciated. With that said, we're gonna be back with more after this.
One.
Okay, I just saw a message in the Twitch. It's from K-Chain who says, John's voice is dying as fast as women's rights. Jeez.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah, that's rough. I don't think that we're exactly as big victims, me and all women in America.
So if John gets better, yeah, John's cough is kind of like the end of democracy.
Yeah. My voice is like the flower in Beauty and the Beast. It's a metaphor that's directly affecting anyway. Okay, so really fast, we're gonna jump into the last story in a second. I did want to mention we had a super chat. I want to give someone credit for this. Oh yes. So Bay Photo sent you a super chat. Breaking, and I checked it. It's true. The January 6th committee just scheduled another hearing for tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern. They were going to take weeks off.
Damn.
And they came back from the weekend saying, no, we have to talk to more witnesses.
Damn. See, they're getting so much more information right now.
Yeah, interesting. I'm gonna be gone, but maybe you can cover it at least on Wednesday's show. On Big News Wednesday with Francesca Fiorentini. Oh, by the way, I'm gonna be out for the rest of the week. And now for even more reason. And Francesca is gonna be leading the whole rest of the week. And so I hope that everyone really enjoys it and is really supportive. I hope you enjoy it just below the amount where you would prefer that to be the status quo.
Oh God.
So thank you.
Yeah, we didn't tease that. I forgot that. I put that in.
You forgot that?
Yeah, for like a second.
Okay, good. Well, you should be there tomorrow though.
Anyway,
with that said, why don't we jump into our last story? In fact, it's our Monday Menace.
Want to speak ill of where we're going. Some places aren't as welcoming. They're not as friendly. Like, we'll just throw one out there. I don't want to name names of great cities in our district, but it sounds like Telluride starts with a T. And sometimes when we're going there, it's like, but do we really want to go there? Do we really need to be there? And we're able to hold one another accountable about the words that we're speaking. Are we speaking death and defeat into one of the communities that I represent? Because that's not what I want. I want to speak life and prosperity and flourishment and fulfillment and blessings on these cities. I want to go into those dark places and be a light and reveal the love of God.
So I don't know if that bit there near the end was a Freudian slip. It's Lauren Boebert, so it's entirely possible that it is. But Lauren Boebert there saying that she wants to be the person who brings the light of God into these communities. I will remind her, you're technically a congresswoman. That's what your job is. You're not a savior. You're not a bishop. You're not any of that stuff. You're supposed to be a representative. And when you stand up in a room full of people who agree with only you and just you, and say, I don't even like going to some of these areas. Have you considered why you don't get a warm reception in some parts of your congressional district? Have you thought about why people, for instance, on the left or just Democrats in the center might find you to be a repugnant figure? That maybe it isn't just about your positions, but the fact that you're awful generally, that you are constantly attacking them, even in that segment about how you want to be the second coming of Jesus, you're attacking Telluride specifically for some reason. Have you considered that? And what we just showed you, that's not the full reason why she's your Monday Menace, but Francesca, what did you think about that?
The only thing wrong with Telluride is that I can't afford to go there. Like that's the biggest problem. But like film festival, I hear it's great. I have been there once. It was amazing. I thought I was gonna die from altitude sickness. Also, I was high on weed. But I don't understand what she's going, like she just basically papered over her throwing all these constituents under the bus with like God language, because she kind of didn't get the reaction that she wanted of everyone kind of that like room full of lots of empty seats over there, just kind of like people who had to go there so they could get the free lunch afterwards, didn't snicker enough at her like throwing Telluride under the bus. 100%. So she just pivoted to God.
I get that's the go-to. If God was gonna send someone, do you think he'd send her? But anyway, that's not the full reason. The other reason is she tweeted this: Capitol Police, why are there 20 pallets of bricks 1 block from the House office buildings? In that tweet.
That's the brick.
Why are there bricks in a major city? Well, it turns out, and this is shocking, they're not there as a product of some conspiracy theory. They were there because of ongoing construction on First Street in Washington, D.C. In fact, there are signs right nearby there. I don't know if she took that picture or just spread it. That's why there are bricks. It is not that the federal government is setting up for brick bombardment by Antifa artillery super soldiers. We've already been through this for a couple of years now.
DC is a set. It is a set, you guys. It's a controlled demolition.
She wants to be Jesus. She can't even figure out that sometimes things need to be built. Jesus. Anyway, we've got more coming up after the break, so don't go anywhere. Welcome back, one and all, to what remains of the show with me, John Iadarola, and Francesca Fiorentini. Francesca, thank you for being here.
No props.
By the way, I saw that we had a particularly large live viewership going on before the break, and they chose just a great time voice-wise to listen to my scratchy voice. Anyway, thank you for being here. If you haven't already hit the like button, please do so. We want to read some of your messages before we jump back into things. By the way, the theme of this block is political violence, both the real kind and then the kind. So we'll have both for you. No, the theme is Sophie, I guess. I don't know what that theme means. Anyone in the chat, what do you think the theme of Sophie means? Let me know. Sophie produced. She did produce both of those. Thank you. Anyway, Rodney Fong sent in a super chat saying, next thing we will be doing is having women file for abortion permits. It will answer the why this fetus question. I suspect that they will want to not have white babies aborted. Next question, how to determine that a baby is white. I don't know about the hypotheticals. I do know that we're entering into disgusting territory, and it should not be up to, literally, to the point that Roddy's making. What does it mean for abortion to be permitted when it comes to the life of the mother? It means that it gets to be up to particular doctors. These may sound from 1,000 feet above like cut and dried things. They're not. Many times it's a probabilities game. It isn't that the woman will definitely die or not, and it's an evaluation. So your rights might be up to, in a particular state, your state senator. They might be up to a particular doctor. Let's just have there be the right. How about that?
Or more specifically, a judge who has no idea. No idea about like what a miscarriage is versus an abortion versus an anything. In countries like Argentina, which just got the right to an abortion recently, you had 12-year-old girls with their moms who were pregnant by cause of rape or what. It didn't matter the circumstances, pleading to a judge to allow their kid to get an abortion, a 12-year-old, for Christ's sake. 100%. So these are all the cases that are coming. These are all the blessings from God that are coming down the pike.
And think, like, if there is a generation of forced births for people who are not ready, do not have the financial resources to raise a kid, if that has any negative social ramifications, then that's just gonna be stuff that the Republicans are going to use to fearmonger. Like, that's what they're going to do with this. Anyway, with that said, Caroline Roberts sent a super chat saying, please stop talking rape. We get to choose no matter, it was and is our right. Oh, I think saying we get to choose whether to give birth or not. Well, I agree with you there.
Yeah, we shouldn't just talk about these extreme cases. Agreed.
Exactly. Pitchforks Dragon says, I hope Francesca is taking over the damage report so John can host a TYT primetime show. No, but thank you. Okay, let's see. K-Chan's been a member for 23 months off in Twitchland. Thank you. Says, I just want chitty Supreme Court and board games with John. That would be great. Imagine if that's what our shows were.
Well, what if the current Supreme Court were in like playing the board game with you? That would suck. No matter if Chitty's there or not.
No. I mean, it's like I'm trying to explain the rules and Kavanaugh's like got a keg tip back.
Yeah,
that doesn't make for a good night. Anyway, with that said, why don't we jump into the stories that remain, beginning with this.
About a third of the way through, I got hit on the back as if a boulder hit me. It knocked me forward a step or two. It didn't knock me down, but it hurt tremendously. I did not know what it was. I had no idea what it was. And all of a sudden, I heard someone yell at me something I can't repeat about what I am. Curse words, dirty curse words, and then some more dirty curse words, and then a few more dirty, as he retreated, ran away. And then he turned around and he said that I was a woman killer. You kill women, your party kills women.
Because that was Rudy Giuliani, who is, let's be clear, a dirty curse word. Insert whichever one you prefer. I've got a few in mind. And he is explaining how when he was at Staten Island this weekend, he was struck by someone with the force of a boulder that didn't even knock a drunk old man down. I don't know, I've seen Indiana Jones. I feel like it would do more damage. But anyway, let's keep it real. He was struck by someone and now footage has come forward of that. So let's go to that footage. and we'll talk out what happened to Rudy Giuliani on Saturday. So you see the surveillance footage there. That was no. It's not still cut. That was it. That was the thing. The guy yelled dirty curse words and hit him on the back. And look, Rudy Giuliani is an old, frail man. It is possible that the guy hit him hard. And honestly, don't touch anyone. Don't even just slap them on the back. But that was described before the footage was available as striking with the force of a boulder, Francesca.
My favorite is whomever is next to him rubbing his back, just like, oh, you poor little king, you didn't, like you took someone patted you on the back. Your shoulders briefly move forward, and you say you were assaulted. The force of a boulder. Damn, dude, how much Jameson have you had? How much Kirkland vodka can one man take in one day? Like, what is going on here? This is insane to me. Like, how many people have to coddle him?
Wait a second, you coddle him? Did you see the same footage I did? That was like exactly like when Thor hit the Hulk with Mjolnir. It was that sort of event. And it's only because Rudy Giuliani is in the peak of human health that he was not sent flying across the, I'm gonna say strip mall he was in, I'm not sure, grocery store maybe. But again, don't touch people in public or in private. I don't want anyone touching anyone. But no, don't do anything that could potentially hurt someone or scare them or allow them to flee to their podcast or whatever and pretend that they've been the target of a hit, as is the case here.
I guess I disagree. I disagree. Like, I think that's a perfect response. I mean, Rudy Giuliani is a massive
slapping someone on the back.
Yeah, he's a massive POS.
Fair. I don't want someone slapping Ilhan Omar on the back. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, that's not what we're talking about, because Ilhan Omar has by no means done the amount of damage to this country that Rudy Giuliani has.
No, I get that, but
in public, I'm sorry, expect some resistance, man. We're here in in fascist times. You're gonna expect resistance. If someone pats you on the back and tells you whatever they tell you to your face, yeah, man, it's the same thing as like, don't go out to eat if you don't want people to shout you and chant you down. So I understand, yes, we don't believe in violence. That wasn't violence.
No, it wasn't violence, but I also just don't think, I don't want someone touching me when I'm out in public. And again, I don't think that whether you should be able to be touched is dependent on how bad. Yeah, but only for the sweet cameo gigs and the constant inebriation. Anyway, so regardless, he didn't just say that it struck him like a train. He told the Post he felt it was his duty to call the cops, which he did. The guy was arrested. Likening the decision to his tough on crime policies as mayor. Quote, I say to myself, you know something? I gotta get this guy arrested. I talk about broken windows theory all the time. You can't let the little things go. I'm like, I gotta get this guy arrested as an example that you can't do this. And I said also in New York, we don't prosecute people anymore. And one of the reasons I brought crime down is I don't ignore stuff like this.
Oh my God.
If you weren't already a dirty curse word, you are definitely a dirty curse word if that's your thought process that results in someone being arrested for slapping you on the back. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, he didn't slap you on the back with a squeegee, buddy, and all the squeegee guys that you cleaned up. It wasn't a broken window that he cut you with for all your broken window policies. It's just so amazing. Like, watch Eric Adams be like, Giuliani's right. We do need more cops. Like, I feel like, it's just insane to me. We're like, it reminds me of also the fact that like the left is Democrats are so easily baited into the idea that this somehow is violence too. You have Joe Biden using his precious few moments to speak to the entire country in the wake of the Roe v. Wade decision, telling people to be peaceful. Again,
I'm not saying it was violence. I'm just saying don't give them the ability to pretend it was.
I'm saying it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter because they call peaceful demonstration violence.
They do. All I'm saying is don't touch me if you see me. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, John just doesn't want to be touched. Neither do I. But then again,
I'm talking to you, wife. Don't touch me. Anyway, yeah. Again, reminder: this is the party that believes they're alpha males or whatever. Come on, dude. You were slapped in the back. Can I ask you one final question, Francesca?
No.
Who came closer to death, Rudy Giuliani when he was struck with the force of Thanos himself, or Michael Tracy when Maxine Waters broke his back over her knee. Why do people freak out over nothing? Oh my God. Anyway, and both, like they love to make the claims, but then the footage comes out and it doesn't look good for you.
The force of a boulder.
The force of a boulder. Why is that your comparison? Anyway, okay, with that said, I would have hit the ground and probably broke my skull. Anyway, with that said, can we turn to serious stuff, actual violence? Let's do that. This is, by the way, this is gonna be tough footage, so bear that in mind as we go into this. That is a man who chose to drive through a group of people who were protesting over what happened with Roe v. Wade. It was a Ford truck. The man has not been identified, but he rammed into several protesters, all of them women, rolled over one woman's ankle with his Ford truck, I'll remind you, sending her to the hospital. That said, the police were called and are investigating. No arrests have been made yet after rolling over a woman's ankle with his truck. Local journalist and a witness to the attack at that time, Liz Lenz, says he tried to murder them. These women see him coming and a bunch of people put their hands out to stop him and he just keeps going. Apparently the guy was waiting behind several cars as protesters crossed the street. He became impatient and decided, well, I gotta get where I'm going, so I'm not gonna let the possibility that I murder a person stop me. And why would it? Conservatives have been told in multiple cases over the past few years that protesters should be struck by cars and that there is nothing wrong with just driving through people who are exercising the constitutional rights that conservatives pretend to care about, but don't when it's inconvenient. Francesca, what do you think?
I don't know why, but I'm thinking of the January 6th committee hearings and the fact that all of this evidence is coming to light about exactly what happened on that day. And I feel like we need similar hearings for the protests of the summer of 2020 to understand just how much violence was waged by both police and civilians like this guy in a giant truck against demonstrators. But this is the stuff that demonstrators and people who are exercising their First Amendment rights, they have to suffer with in silence. And good on them if they get a video out and then we cover it and then we talk about it. But there is no justice in this. The nation doesn't know about it. Like certainly Fox News isn't covering it, but if you'll be lucky if CNN or MSNBC even cover it. The amount of violence that people are meant to bear in these instances is just insane. And you would think after the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, when someone was killed through this very same thing, that we would take this way more seriously, that there would be action on a federal level, protecting demonstrators, truly. But no, it's not. I guess they all need to be carrying weapons. And to be honest with you, I hate that. I hate that because I see what happens at the drag show. You know, someone pulled out a gun. Well, we don't know if that's someone, we assume it was someone from the right who hated the drag show, but it could have also been someone trying to protect the drag show. And again, as someone who is for gun control, I don't believe it is never borne out and it truly never ends very well when a good guy with a gun does something, right? That person often ends up killed or killing others themselves. So I'm just like, that's where I'm gonna end everything.
So the thing is, there have been no charges yet, but that person was threatening the life of the people that he was going to roll over. Like he, in the end, ended up sending someone to the hospital. Easily could have killed someone. So if one of those women had been carrying a gun and had to save her life from the guy who was trying to run her down, she had no way of knowing if he wasn't doing one of these copycat things like ISIS people or whatever has. If she had pulled out her gun and shot him dead, I guess that's self-defense. I guess people are gonna keep trying to mow down protesters with their cars until drivers start getting shot. But this, and by the way, I don't want any of that. I don't want literally any of that. That's a terrible world. Let's not go into that world. then let's not have right-wingers encouraging people to kill protesters with their vehicles, which they have been doing, not just in rhetoric, but in legislation in multiple states. But that we just showed you is not the only violence that's happened over just the past few days for people who are protesting for their rights. I believe on the watch list earlier, the video of actress Jodie Sweetin being manhandled by the cops in LA, that came out. You have this, a state Senate candidate being attacked by her opponent, by the way. Let's go to that footage. So yeah, that's a candidate for office deciding to punch the person he's running against. Again, we keep talking about violence being normalized. This is what it means. It's not just the cops. By the way, cops brutalizing people has been normalized for a very long time. No, like regular people now think I can run down protesters. Candidates think I might be able to still get elected if I physically assault the person that I'm running against. Now, in this particular case, I'm gonna jump ahead. Gene Lugo, the guy doing the assaulting there, apparently has dropped out of the race. So hey, we got one. That's great news. But in other places, you're seeing more violence. If we jump ahead to this video, you're gonna see Arizona police dispersing what looks like a perfectly peaceful protest with tear gas. Like Francesca, like what are we supposed to do? Like they come at us in every possible way. And if you just have a sign, they will brutalize you over it.
Yeah.
And the side that pretends that they care about like the state getting out of control, they're enthusiastically supportive of this.
I mean, this is what fascism looks like. And I just, two points. One, this is the future they hope for. You wonder why all this rollback? It's because they want more unwanted kids and babies, more destitution, and more worker bees for the Amazon factories. That's it. They want more pliable minds. They want more easily manipulatable people to vote MAGA, right? We've seen the level of idiocy that votes for the fascist candidates, right? They want that. And for everyone else, we lock them up. If you fall out of line, you get locked up in our private prisons and we make a killing no matter what. That's the broad goal. But I just want to say to the people who've taken the streets, who've seen state repression firsthand, who've seen the way the cops didn't even give them a chance to disperse before they unloaded tear gas on them, as you saw there. It is a politicizing moment. Don't be afraid. I know it's scary, but that is actually use that to re-up. Obviously, next time, you can go out with milk does a great wonders for tear gas in your eyes, wet bandanas. If you need to, gas masks. I mean, these are things that you need. I mean, look at the Hong Kong protesters with their umbrellas. Like there are so many ways, but this kind of state repression, they think that it's gonna work. And it doesn't. It only further politicizes us and strengthens our resolve.
Of course, you would be the person who knows the DIY remedies to all of that. Okay, well, with that, we are running very low on time. So why don't we jump into our last topic? We're gonna zoom out a little bit on this violent stuff, starting with this.
You used a phrase earlier in the midst of this, if we have a democracy 10 years from now. Do you think we won't?
I think there's a very real risk that we will not. I think what we risk is having a government that perhaps postures as a democracy and may try to pretend that it is, but is.
So that was Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez just a couple of months ago. This is before the shootings that lead to no real gun reform. This is before the Supreme Court decided, damn what we said when we were getting confirmed, damn what the people think, your rights are gone. And she was saying that democracy is very much at risk. And she is not the only person that believes that. A poll just came out earlier today, Yahoo News, YouGov poll. 55% of Democrats, 53% of Republicans believe it is likely the United States will cease to be a democracy in the future. which, look, I would arguably say is an optimistic way to present what's happening right now. The idea that what we're discussing is something that might happen in the future. Democracy is not a 1 or a 0. This is not a binary thing. It exists on a spectrum. And we can be very worried about where it is at right now, where it was at 5 or 10 years ago, let alone 5 or 10 years in the future. But that doesn't mean that it can't get worse. In that same poll among Republicans, 52% believe it is likely that there will be a civil war in the US in their lifetime. 46% of Democrats, 50% of independents believe that same thing. Virtually everyone agrees that democracy is at risk and that political violence might come. Some of them willing to engage it themselves. 26% say those who participate in political violence could sometimes be justified. And we've seen that in past polls too. There's always gonna be that 1/4 of the country, Francesca, that believes that this might come to violence. And honestly, would that be the worst thing, they would say?
I lay this at the feet of Fox News and the propagandists who are making a living off of political violence. I truly do. And I think it is sad that a lot of people feel this way. For sure, I've had those moments of doubt and thinking the absolute same thing. I think you're seeing a failure of political leadership. I think that the fact that more Democrats are agreeing with the fact that there's not going to be a democracy shows you that they have no faith that the Democrats are actually going to do anything to drastically address this kind of political violence and actually help people in order to sort of almost like distract them with the good things that they're doing in their lives, right? Distract them from the idea that they need to go after women and immigrants and black people and actually have like a real plan to improve everyone's life. So, but more than that, I think we need to make sure that we understand this is not just the coming like civil war democracy. It is a war of the rich against the working class. And as long as we can keep our eyes and focus on that, I think that will very much help.
Yeah, and the issue is that one of the tools, the weapons of that class is a weaponized conservative, like poor and working class movement that should be concerned about why they're being abused by these people. But instead they're drawn into this war, believing that the biggest threat to themselves is drag queen story hour and stuff like that.
Yep.
And so that's how you end up in this situation. Okay, with that said, unfortunately, we are out of time. Francesca, I want to thank you not only for joining me today, but also for taking the reins and taking over TDR for the rest of the week. I'm very excited for it.
Me too. Thanks, John. I hope you enjoy your time off. Yeah, it'll be fun.
I will. Well, I'm gonna be helping someone move, but I think there will be a little bit of fun regardless. And I will be watching, so I hope it'll be exciting. Everyone, keep watching throughout this week. Show some support, not only for Francesca, but Dan Evans is gonna be joining. Yay. Tomorrow we got JR on Wednesday, Aaron Ryan on Thursday. Francesca and Aaron are always great together. And there will be Brett Ehrlich this Friday, so a lot of exciting stuff coming.
It's a good week.
It's gonna be a great week, so thank you in advance. For now though, stay safe out there, stay sane out there. I'll see you soon.